In 1965, an ad was placed in Variety magazine and The Hollywood Reporter requesting for 4 insane boys. 400 teenagers were reported to have answered the call. 14 were selected, screen tests were shot, and the lineup was solidified.
Here we come, walking down the street. We get the funniest looks from everyone we meet.
The Monkees, starring Mickey Dolenz, actor and former child star, Davy Jones, Broadway actor and former jockey, Michael Nesmith, composer and performer, and Peter Tork, multi-instrumentalist and folk musician. The group had been assembled to appear in a television series of the same name. To drum up hype for the television series, a single was released under the band on August 16, 1966.
Take the last train to Pottsville and I'll meet you at the station. You can be here by 4:30, 'cause I've made your reservation. Don't be slow. No.
The song topped the charts, successfully kicking off the beginning of the freshly minted Monkee Mania. The television series began airing a month later on September 12th. The series portrayed the band in various predicaments, usually in look of work and gigs to play, and occasionally delving into the supernatural and science fiction. The television series was also a huge success. As the Monkees' fame rose, demand for a live touring act grew. After some rehearsal, the band launched their first tour in December of 1966. The Monkees, however, were unlike other bands of the 60s. Unlike the likes of the Beach Boys or the Beatles, who started out playing gigs at local venues, practicing in the garage, and writing songs whenever they could, the Monkees were forged. Right off the bat, they had a team of songwriters and session musicians behind them, something Michael Nesmith and Peter Tork resented. The Monkees weren't permitted to play on their own records. This upset the band, and they lobbied for more creative control, something Don Kirshner didn't want to hand over. Kirshner believed the Monkees were to only lend their voices to the music so that they could film more of the TV series. Eventually, this culminated in the firing of Don Kirshner. Following this, the Monkees released their first album to feature significant instrumentation contributions from the band, Headquarters.
Why don't you cut your hair? Why don't you live up there? Why don't you do what I do? See what I feel when I care?
However, word got out that the Monkees didn't play their own instruments, and the press launched a full-scale attack on the Monkees, claiming them to be a disgrace to the pop world. Funnily enough, it was no secret that the band didn't play their own instruments. In various interviews, Nesmith was quick to address the situation, stating,
"Do you know how debilitating it is to sit up and have to duplicate somebody else's records?
and
Tell the world we don't record our own music. Our records are not our forte."
despite their best attempts to calm the press, the public's opinion had changed on the Monkees. In an effort to escape and possibly commentate on their manufactured image, the band began work on a new, ambitious project. In 1968, the Monkees released their first and only major motion picture. Head, despite having starred the Monkees, was nothing like the television series before it. Instead, it was a psychedelic, anti-war stream of conscience that left most fans confused and upset with the Monkees' new direction. The film was a commercial failure, but it has gained a cult following in more recent years, being praised for its anti-war and progressive messages. The film, however, was not enough to keep the Monkees in the public eye. Peter Tork left the band in 1969, and the band's fame continued to dwindle. In 1970, guitarist Michael Nesmith also left the band, leaving David and Mickey to do one more album, 1970's Changes.
When I fly too high, something's bound to burst the bubble. You say this is love.
It seemed to most that this was the end of the Monkees. The peaks had passed, and what was left was a group that got the freedom that they wanted, but was scorned by the public, and left abandoned by their supporters. But this wasn't the end. In the late 70s, drummer Mickey Dolenz and singer Davy Jones of the Monkees united with the band's original songwriters Tommy Boyce and Bobby Hart, and embarked on a successful tour playing many of the Monkees' classics. In the mid-80s, then music giant MTV began playing reruns of the television series, bringing the band's antics to new generations and sparking a second wave of Monkee Mania. The group reunited and played to sold-out venues all over America. In the late 90s, the group produced a television special. It was okay.
Yeah, let me. Hey, kid, want to see me throw up?
Yeah.
The band then produced their first and only album to feature instrumental and writing contributions from them alone, the aptly titled Justice. The band toured a few more times throughout the 2000s. With the death of original member Davy Jones in February of 2012, another tour began, this time featuring on-again, off-again member of the band, Michael Nesmith. In 2016, following the release of the band's album Good Times, Nesmith played his final show as a member of the Monkees. It's hard to say where the Monkees will go next. Many say they've met the end of the line. Others say they'll keep going. Peter Tork thinks,
"We'll tour until one of us drops, then the other will go on as the Monkee."
in the end, it's safe to say that there will never be anything quite like the Monkees.
Cheer up, sleepy Jean. Oh, what can it mean to a daydream believer and a homecoming queen?